We meet again.
We meet again.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, no.
This
This is round 2, guys. We actually did it. Thank you for giving all the feedback on the first one. Really appreciative. And now we're just gonna get back into it again. Do you want to any opening remarks from your side?
I think podcasting is really taking off across the globe. People are really taking interest in speaking openly about their ideas and opinions, and I think it's a great way to connect with viewers and connect on a deeper level with yourself, for example. So I think I'm going to carry on,
Nice.
for the time being, and
Nice.
really push for something significant in the near future. Yeah, I'm down for this, man. I'm down
Nice,
for this
nice.
long
No,
term.
I'm glad. Yeah, I just wanted to say also podcasting, I think out of all the content creation I've done, I have to say that it might be the one thing that I enjoy doing the most.
Okay.
Because it's like you have engaging conversations. You're also very knowledgeable. You're intelligent, so it's nice to bounce ideas off of you.
100%. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm keen
try.
to. Yeah, you try. Well, you're doing very well, my friend.
Thank
So
you.
continue trying, and I appreciate it, and I just hope that we can make a little bit more of this. Of course, we'll take it one step at a time. We'll go with the flow, and we'll see how it goes.
Perfect. Let's go.
All right, guys. So we had a bunch of topics today that we're going to cover, and the first one we're going to just briefly kind of have a small discussion is about sports and how it affects society and community in this day and age. So I know that you're not a huge sports fan,
no.
so that's fine. But just give me your take on sports. Like, what do you think? Why is it important, or why is it not important, and why do you not necessarily connect with it?
So it's not that I don't connect with it. It's maybe there was a bit of a lapse in my childhood, right? So there was a lot of interest in football, for example, and basketball, up until I arrived in the UK, where my parents, my dad especially, kind of paid more attention to work and church work, especially, right? So sports and football wasn't really something that we idolize, if that makes sense. In fact, my dad would have used that language. Idolization of sports is a big problem, right? So. I think that's kind of partly the reason why football wasn't a massive thing for me growing up, as from the age of maybe 13, 14.
Right.
Yeah, especially arriving in the UK. But to sidetrack to why I think it's important to watch sports or participate in sports, I think it's just great for your mental health. It's one of those activities that enrich people's mental health. It allows you to explore what your body is capable of if you partake in sports. It allows you to learn. It allows you to apply principles of discipline and teamwork, cooperation to obviously to kind of get to that goal, or to kind of score a goal or to complete the task at hand. I think sports has its purpose. It's quite purposeful. It's quite fulfilling. But as an observer, I think sports is just entertaining. It's just a distraction from I guess stress. Everyday life. Okay, put it that way. Yeah. I think that's where I would look at sport as being really important and valuable to human existence. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I was gonna just touch on this thing that you said when your dad said that sports is kind of like idolization.
Yeah.
And if I were because I'm a very big proponent of sport, but if I can look at the negative side of it and just kind of to agree with your dad here, it is a form of distraction. You're right. And there's a famous George Orwell quote, which is like, the masses lost their power because gambling, cheap beer, and ultimately football took over their lives and distracted them from what was actually going on. So it can be used as a way of just like kind of lulling the masses. And one thing that the Romans found out was that even beyond religion, the one thing that you could control people with was games. So that's why they had the Colosseum. They had like all the gladiators, because they knew that that's the one thing that people actually put more attention to than religion. And so I do understand where your dad's coming from, saying that sometimes we idolize it too much. But for me, on the other end of it, if we're coming out of society where we used to be so religious and people nowadays aren't as religious, sports a way of like creating community. It's a way of like connecting with people that you've never met before. For instance, if you follow the same club, you're going to feel like a certain sense of camaraderie with that person, even if you've never met them. And there was a huge thing, like, so coming from South Africa, we have a lot of stuff going on. It's Africa, of course. There's a lot of problems. Maybe there's corruption. There's a lot of things we're unhappy about. But when the Springboks, which is like the rugby team, won the World Cup, man, we were united as a nation, and we're a rainbow nation. Like, there's people that are from Asian background, from African background. There's
Yeah.
white people, but we put all those tensions to
Yeah.
rest, and we were just like, we've done this
Yeah,
together as a
yeah.
country, you know.
Yeah, of course, of course.
And
And,
it was just a
I'm sure in
beautiful.
South Africa, you hosted the World Cup at some
We
point, right?
did,
Yeah,
we
you
did. 2010, yeah.
2010.
Yeah,
Wow, such a
long time ago.
Oh my god! But I think I was watching football like avidly at that point. Yeah, until I arrived in the UK. Yeah,
Right.
but that's one way of kind of pinning it, right? Because I saw the images on I saw the images on television. Obviously, it just seemed like a really happy nation. Like you say, white and black people were just kind of dancing
Yeah.
and rejoicing together. That their team were obviously participating in football.
Right.
Once in a very long. They did, first time in a really long time. I think they didn't play in a World Cup since.
Yeah. I mean,
since before I was alive, since before my dad was alive. Do you know what I mean? So that was a big celebration for South Africa, I think.
No, it was a huge thing, man. It was a huge thing. So, yeah, that's the one thing that I really feel like proud of is if we as a country can get behind our sports team and we can create unity through that way. I think that's like a really important thing.
It's a difficult one as well because you look at how the UK performed, right, in the very recent events with the Euros, the World Cup, and so forth, right? It's almost as if our team. I'm going to speak about England. The England team, we were doing so well in the tournament, right? But as soon as something goes wrong, so we don't score a penalty, or there's a bit of a shift in the squad, right, or how the player unit is arranged, there's almost like an uproar. And on top of that, if our strikers don't score, if we lose a game, there's always like a big uproar of racism online and a big a mass. It's almost like the opposite extreme of what's really positive about sports becomes really obvious in an instant.
That is such an interesting point, man. That is like a really good point that you brought up. It is a double-edged sword, of course, and this is like, I mean, like you bring up the Euros. Okay, let's talk about the Euros. The final against Italy.
There you go.
And we got our three players that are of African descent. They missed the penalty. All of a sudden, everyone just goes mental. Racism is going crazy on Twitter and all these social media platforms. And you start to realize like the country is divided.
We're really divided. It's divided when things don't go the way we want it or expect it to go. I'm not sure if there's a pride there or an entitlement to win or to kind of get it your way all the time with our England team. It's almost like people sit at home or buy these expensive tickets expecting the UK, England to just win.
Yeah.
We are a superpower. The UK is really, really resourceful. We're really powerful globally, but it doesn't mean that players are necessarily going to win every single game, right?
No, of course.
So talent is something that you obviously work for, but talent can be inherited. It's just in your DNA. So if teams like Italy and Spain do really well, it's because it's probably in their DNA or there's a genetic advantage there.
Right.
But we get so angry when we don't win, and I don't understand. I'm not sure why it's not spoken about enough. The racism and how that might be affecting the mental health of these three players of African descent.
Right.
Seeing that online must be terrible.
It's tough for them, and I think it's it's because, like you said, the UK is a superpower.
Yeah.
And people outside looking in, they're always like, people that live in the UK probably have like amazing lives, not knowing that it's not necessarily the case, right?
Okay.
And I think people have football as a distraction, like you said. So when they go watch football, they almost kind of like put away all the negative things that they have to deal with. So like high energy bills, or like taxes and all this stuff that's affecting them. So it's like an escape. And when it doesn't go their way, it's almost like it flips for them.
It flips. So reality kind of sinks in very quickly.
Very quickly.
So,
and then they take all their anger out. Like, so there's actually, it's a well-known fact that if, for instance, you've got a bunch of supporters supporting Leeds United, and Leeds United lose at home, the amount of domestic abuse cases in Leeds for that particular night goes up by quite a significant proportion. So I mean, it is quite a heavy topic, man. Yeah. So it is a double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword, of course, positive and negatives, in all aspects. But I guess we tend to focus on the positive, which is fair.
Yeah.
Fair,
No, 100%. Yeah. But I mean, tell us what you think about the sports part of this podcast. Let us know if you're for sports or against it. How does it affect society? And let
us know in the comments.
Let us know in the comments. And
nice.
So the next one is something that I think I'm very excited to talk to you about, because I feel like all your years of being a personal trainer, you probably would have developed so much swaths of knowledge on this topic, and it's something that I think people that when they first get to the gym they have no idea about. And it is essentially, so there's two different exercise regimens when it comes to resistance training. Okay, so there is the very power lifter heavy, subsection, which is that you're going to lift very heavy weights. You're going to go very little rep range, and this is a way of developing power essentially, or size. But then you also have the other side of it, which is you can go low weight and you can go high rep range. And from what I understand, this is to develop like elasticity and explosiveness. But can you kind of just touch on what are the benefits of each exercise program, and which is better for certain types of people?
100%. Okay, I think that's a really important point. Um, I like the idea of how low reps, how you kind of specify that low reps are power based and strength based, and high reps are kind of for more elasticity and endurance. I like that. I would just say that I've not really looked at it in that lens for a very long time. That high reps are kind of more elasticity, and low reps are kind of strength only. Based on the current research, there's a bit of an overlap between the low reps and high reps. So within that range, if the goal is to build muscle or to be fit or healthier, you can work within the range of 5 to 30 anyway. So high reps would still help you build elasticity and some sort of strength.
Right.
Whereas this over here, low reps, would also help you build elasticity and strength, but probably would lean more on the strength aspect. So for most people, doing a combination of high reps, low reps is good, but it's important to specify exactly what your goal is. So if your goal is, for example, to gain strength very quickly, well, yes, it makes sense to do a lot of the low rep stuff with really heavy weights. But there's a catch. So what you need to do is ensure that your body is recovering adequately to ensure that your central nervous system doesn't go into shock or go into overdrive, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Whereas high rep stuff is also good, but again, the stress on joints, ligaments, tendons can be really, really stressful, and so there will be a need for recovery. And so a lot of the time, you want to be somewhere in the middle. So for most people in Gen Pop, we call it's general population, but I'm going to shorten it to Gen Pop. For most Gen Pop, you should be in the middle. So anything between 8 to 12 reps is sufficient, especially if you prioritize progressive overload and prioritize periodization. So with the whole strength and high rep stuff, what can happen is on a week by week basis, you can periodize the training so that you're doing low rep heavy 1 week, and then the second week it's going to be moderate, somewhere in between, and then the final week is going to be high reps. And this way you're kind of giving your body a chance to recover or adapt from the high rep stuff, and recover from the low rep stuff, and recover from the stuff in between, and also giving your body a chance to adapt for each modality, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Yes, it does.
But within all that, you still want recovery. You need time to rest. So there's no advantage to either of them. It's very in line with what your goal is. For most people who are not powerlifters or who aren't athletes or endurance athletes, they want to be right there in the middle, in that center, where they will recover quickly and not strain their joints too much. But if you're more specific, then I guess you would go more expert level in those deeper extremes. If that makes sense.
Right. And you brought up an interesting point, which is recovery. Which I think is an important aspect of training as well and working out. So what do you think is like the ideal recovery range within a week? Let's say someone's going to the gym, they're trying to hit 4 to 5 times. They're trying to be like quite an advanced user. They're trying to be someone that takes advantage of their membership maybe. What is how should they space out their recovery? What is the best way to do that?
I mean, there's different splits that work for different individuals based on their weekly routine or what they want to achieve or how quickly they want to achieve a specific goal. But I think splits help. So having a workout split really helps. So there's popular splits out there such as push-pull legs.
Right. Very, very famous.
Yeah, very famous. Yeah, push-pull legs, or the Arnold split, or the upper-lower split.
Right.
Or anterior-posterior.
Okay.
So push-pull legs would just be a session where there's a lot of pushing mechanics or push exercises, such as your bench press, the shoulder press, the
Right.
tricep push downs.
Yes.
These are kind of pushing movements.
Yes.
Pull will just be, for example, a bent over row,
Right.
pull-ups, pull-downs. You know what these
Yeah,
are,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So essentially, you would be doing these in that split order to
Mhm.
ensure that whilst you're doing one workout routine in that split
Yeah.
or a group of muscles, you're not really touching the other muscles,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah. So
So you're focusing on a function.
you're
essentially.
focusing on a function, exactly. So whilst you're focusing on one function, another function gets time to
Recover.
recover and rest, if that makes sense. You would just continue that whilst you progress. Obviously, you'd be lifting more weight, you'd be doing more reps. But that's essentially a way of 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 using the split whilst also being bang on in the middle in terms of rep ranges.
Okay.
For gen population, the people who aren't athletes like yourself, right, and myself. Yeah,
Right,
so we're
right,
not athletes, we're just normal
Yeah.
people that want to hit the gym 3, 4, 5 times a week.
Right, right. I've also heard there's a genetic component to it. And the genetic component I heard is just like I was watching a bunch of videos on this exact topic, and they were basically saying that if you struggle to put on muscle, okay, and you let's say have a lot, have you heard of this term called skinny fat?
Yeah, I know skinny fat. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a genetic thing, and it's actually most prevalent in like Asian people and Southeast Asian people. And essentially, it's like you struggle to put on muscle because your body is designed in a way that you had to go through multiple famines. So genetically, you were wired to put on fat as stores of like glucose and glycogen. And so I've heard that people from that sort of background actually have to focus on high rep, low weight, because first of all, they need to build up their strength, and they also need to build like endurance in the muscle before they actually go into like lifting very heavily, because they don't have the strength in their joints. What do you say to that?
I like that. I like that the precaution. It sounds very precautious, and this is good. But I would say also that if we use the method of periodization, where we start maybe from a precautious point of view, we start with the high rep stuff on week 1 to kind of build the joints and get them accustomed to the exercises. We could maybe do that first, and maybe do a strength focus workout on week 2. I mean, so you've already prepped your muscle and fired them up for the strength based week, if that makes sense. And then you would just kind of go back and forth in a full month, if that makes sense.
So this is why warming up is it's like crucial.
Warming up is crucial. You don't have to track warming up. You would just essentially so let's look at, for instance, if you wanted to do a workout routine that was chest press based, the warm up would only just be press ups, on the floor, press ups, maybe dips to stimulate your elbows and your joints and your shoulders, right? And then just use the 20 kg bar. That's your warm up. 2 exercises, warm up, done. You can start loading the bar with 5 kg, 10 kg, 15, and so forth, right? So 3 warm ups and then maybe 3 working sets. You're good to go. Move on to the next exercise. But a mistake a lot of people make is they overdo it. So they overuse their joints. So although going high reps has a benefit in terms of not overloading the joints in the elbows and the shoulders, the problem is you're still overuse. There's still an overuse element there that doesn't really benefit the joints in the first place. So where do you go? Do you go really high reps and support the idea of, okay, I'm not overusing my joints, or do you go low reps, but also you fall into the problem of too heavy for those joints?
Right.
I would say bang on in the middle is probably the best.
So you're saying that the ideal was the 8 to 12.
8 to 12, and you're not going heavy.
And okay. So no, that's understood. Totally fine. With the 8 to 12 range, what are we looking at in terms of weight? You know how people will say if you're doing your PB, your personal best, that's as much as you can lift for that 1 rep. So if you're doing the 8 to 12 range, what are you looking? You're looking at 60% of your PB.
65 to 85%.
Right.
Again, it's not super set for every single person. For some people, it might just be what feels right, what feels comfortable, what feels like it's not overexertion.
Okay.
And you can test this by maybe working with a 1 to 10 scale. So the perceived rate of exertion, right?
Yeah.
So that's what a personal trainer would be looking at from a coach to client perspective. So I'm looking at you doing maybe a shoulder press overhead. in my head, I'm looking at your facial expressions, I'm looking at your body language,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how hard you're working.
Yeah, we all know how
Yeah,
important
yeah.
those facial expressions are.
Oh
in the
yeah.
gym.
Well, there's a lot of drama queens out there, so you got to be really careful of what's going on there. You know what I mean? Like
Get
some of my clients do
sensitive.
it. You know, they're just, I'm working really hard. Are you sure? And they're like, look, you saw me work harder, right? Do that again, and then yeah, you know what I mean. So you can actually catch people out, you know, faking it. So I've done this for years. But I would say that you forgot the question already now. So you asked about the 8 to 12 reps.
Right.
Yes. So the question was around your 1 rep max and where you should work to be as safe as possible. Yeah, 65 to 85% of your 1 rep max is what's supported by current science.
Okay.
But I was saying that it's not set, so you can go into your exercise routine, into your workout, just going for feel instead.
Okay.
As opposed to doing the calculations and equations and going, okay, what my 1 rep max is up there.
No,
I need to work my way down to 65 or 85, and then boom, I've got the perfect number for the perfect mathematically correct number to push. It might not work like that for everyone, especially for Gen Pop.
Right, so it's like a trial and error, and you have to find out what works best for you.
There you go.
And just because, like we're trying to make this for the layman, I also just want to get your quick take. It doesn't have to be too long, but can you give us just a quick take on the form needed for like compound movements? Like, so for instance, for bench press, like how far should your elbow go? When you're doing a squat, how far should your knee bend? And just give people a basic like thing so they don't hurt themselves when they're going to gym for the first time.
Of course. So guys, if you're just starting out, I would say for a lot of your joints, bring them down to just below 90-degree angle. So for example, a squat, okay? So a squat, you've got the barbell on your shoulders, right? The goal would be to drive your hips back and bend your knees until your knees and hips are level, so somewhere around 90 degrees. And if you want to go slightly below that with a weight that isn't too strenuous, we're back, perfect. But start with that for now, and of course over time progress, put a bit more weight on the bar and see if you can slow down your movement and just watch yourself get better at the exercise, such as squat or shoulder presses or bent over row. But the idea is to kind of bend your joints, so whether it be at the shoulders or elbows or knees, bend them just below 90 degrees and you're good to go.
Sweet, thank you. That's perfect. That's solid. Okay. Thanks for that. That's a wealth of knowledge, and we're giving it for free for the people, man. That's amazing.
And it's coming more and more. So as we get this free knowledge, we are still continuing to improve our knowledge and expertise in these topics. So guys, tune in, man.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And so now let's look at a very favorite topic of mine, which is exercise and mental health. Okay, and I basically want to just preface this by saying that exercise, we all know from long time coming, that how it affects your brain is that when you exercise, your brain actually releases endorphins. Okay, so these are like pain relief molecules that get released to kind of help you with recovery, and they make you feel good. They make you feel like whenever you feel that muscle soreness, if you ask anyone that's been going to the gym for a while, they actually start to enjoy that. They start to enjoy that muscle soreness because it's like they put the work in, they put the effort in. But the good side of this is that your brain's actually releasing endorphins, which give you like a pleasure. They tell you, you've worked out, I'm going to try it now, heal your muscles. It also increases your serotonin and your dopamine. Your dopamine is very much the reward center in your brain. And it's like every time you are looking for a reward, whether it be sugar, or it could be like putting a holiday, this is all dopamine inducing things. But exercise is brilliant because you don't have to plan like a heavy, expensive holiday. You can just go to the gym, and slowly over time, your brain will start rewarding you for doing this. So that's just my take on it. That is why I exercise. So just give me like your take on exercise and mental health.
I'm just going to mirror what you're saying. I think it's just a case of when you exercise, you feel good, you feel great, you feel fulfilled. Especially after a strenuous day. You know what everyday life does to you, right? It's stressful, you feel tired, you feel lethargic. The last thing you want to do is come to the gym and train. But as you said, if this is something you make a habit, just by building really simple habits, like having something a plan that's just so easy to complete that it's too difficult to fail. That means they're simple plans. So compound exercises are great for that because they're just so simple.
Right.
Okay, you don't have to go heavy, but you're training every muscle group. So just having that, perfect. Having a simple nutrition plan, perfect. combining two, boom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've got a good nutrition plan to make you feel good. You've got a good training plan to make you feel good. You complete that in the gym, you feel great, right?
Yeah.
It might be
Yeah.
your first session, it might be your 10th session. So what? Just keep doing it.
It's about
And
consistency,
yeah,
right?
be
Consistency is
consistent,
key.
but keep reaping the benefits of that sense of fulfillment. That sense of I've done something great, and you feel happy. You feel happy leaving the gym, and that's something you want to continue doing. Because I'm guessing over time,
Mm-hmm.
those receptors in your brain
Yeah.
build up, they get stronger, they
They
become more
do.
sensitive. And so, why not continue doing the very thing that was so simple to create in the first place, and over time make it more complex? Add more details to it, but start simple and reap the benefits literally within 30 minutes of a gym workout.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my
100%. I think it's
Yeah.
really important what you said is about like starting with compound movements.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like for every person that's just starting out gym, like you don't have to worry about like walking with dumbbells, whatever. Just start with your compound movements. Get really comfortable at those. They'll develop strength all through your musculoskeletal system,
There you go.
and then you can start like focusing on isolation movements.
There you
Because
go.
now you've built this base which is very strong.
100%.
You know.
A lot of benefits with running too. Cardio. So a lot more people taking up running. They want to put their music on.
Right.
Yeah, so playlist of their choice. There was a conversation about this in our chat
Oh.
last night. You're part of the chat, but I think you were busy at work. But a young lady was taking up running, and she wants a bit of a playlist, a nice fast-paced playlist
Right.
to help her with running. Because I'm guessing for a lot of people, running helps with their mental health or helps stabilize their mental health. So they might come into the gym with a lot of stress that they bring in from work or from a relationship and whatnot. But running seems to release happiness hormone, maybe a little bit more than resistance training, because the stress on muscles and that burn
Yeah.
that you get in the muscles is not something that a lot of people like. I personally do.
I like it too.
Yeah, I think a run is more satisfying for.
I think it's a good point that you build up. You bring up the resistance training is like a lot of burn. I think with running, it's like minimal, but over time.
Over time, yeah.
And when you're doing resistance training, right, like you said, you're coming into the gym, you're thinking a lot about a relationship or something that happened at work. When you're doing resistance training, like there's a moment where you stop, right, and you take a rest, and then all of a sudden the thoughts come flooding back in.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas when you're running, you're consistent for that whole 5K run, so you're constantly moving. You can literally take your brain out of all these thoughts. You can focus on just the movement, and I think that's why people enjoy it so much.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, I like that. I like the idea of the consistency and that continuous freedom and liberation from the outside world just by focusing on that treadmill or that walk or that run. You're just there with your music on. You almost disappear into this journey that's endless. I like that. Interesting. I'll take up both. I'll combine both now. Resistance with more cardio. I don't really do much cardio.
You don't really do much cardio. Okay. But if you were to do cardio, what would you do though? Like, what would your go-to be?
Explosive sprints.
Oh.
Combined with the long distance jogs, I think. Late at night, around the lake.
Yeah. But I have heard that the explosive sprints are actually the best for muscles.
Yeah.
Because like you're flooding them with so much blood as you're like just exploding. Whereas like running is very slow and it's more on the heart, but like explosive sprints is like you're flooding the muscle with blood, so it's just getting bigger and it's getting like really strong. So
perfectly, just that's a fact.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm using those fast muscle fibers and doing that lactic acid and you're just flexing every single joint in your body essentially. Yeah.
And I would also just going to say with exercise and mental health, it's, yes, we do have all the chemical side of it, with what your brain does, but also you have to think of it as a place where you can come and meditate. You literally have to just like, you have this place where everyone is there for the same thing. There's no other distractions, or maybe there are distractions, whatever, you need to just like take your mind off what you're thinking about too much. The gym can be seen as like a safe haven where you go just to kind of like let go of everything. And you can focus on doing something that everyone is doing, and hopefully there's no judgment in the gym, and you can do this like with a good peace of mind.
Totally agree. Especially if you've got staff in the gym or people that are willing to be helpful and supportive.
Yeah,
I think the gym is definitely a safe haven for a lot of people. Youngsters with poor mental health, depression. People that just need a bit of stress relief. I think you are right. I think from conversations I'm having with a lot of men and women,
right.
they need this space. And so during lockdown, when it was all shut and closed up, I think people really suffered, and I'm sure. I'm not sure if I'm correct in this. Maybe correct me later or comment in a please. Yeah, leave a comment to correct me. But I'm sure the I guess the suicide rates and the rates of depression
skyrocketed,
kind of
right?
skyrocketed.
Yeah,
During
during.
lockdown because of the shutdown of gyms and sport
Were
outlets.
you a personal trainer during that time?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you can probably talk on this. Like, how was it? Like,
Um.
so essentially the gym was closed, right?
Yeah.
And you were at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you still working out, trying to work out?
Luckily.
Yeah. You did.
Luckily,
Okay.
yeah. Luckily, I had access to 2 gyms.
Oh.
Yeah, luckily I kept it very secret, but I did.
Lucky, bro. Jeez,
Yeah. I had access to 2 gyms, yeah, 2 kind of home gyms.
Hmm.
And honestly, I didn't tell anyone about it because it would have just meant that I was.
Yeah. People be ringing you up.
Oh
like,
yeah. But I did let some people. I did let some people in.
Mhm.
During lockdown, people struggled and people were more receptive to support from myself. I've noticed, especially from a outside perspective.
Right.
It's weird because although lockdown was happening, they chose, that COVID going around and death was really rife, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, dark topic. But people were willing to meet in person. People wanted that face-to-face contact.
Yeah, I think they kind of craved it almost.
People wanted that face-to-face contact. They wanted to see me in person. They wanted to choose, outdoor coaching in a park or field over online coaching, where they would get, their support, in a very kind of Zoom facing situation, right? They wanted this.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted boot camps. They wanted to do personal training outdoors, and that kind of really made me wake up about the need for personal connection.
Yeah.
Even if it's, I guess those 4 walls, with your, when you're with your partner and your kids, I think you want to kind of connect outside of that.
It's actually paramount for healthy relationships is to be able to separate what's happening at home and then have something outside. And I think that's why gym and like training with people is such an important aspect, because it's like, first of all, you're able to connect outside of just what's happening in your home, but also it's for a good cause. It's not like you're going out there drinking or you're going out there eating junk food. You're working on your body and you're connecting with people. So it's super important.
Absolutely. A lot of local conversations I have, like a lot of conversations I have in the gym.
Yeah.
It's almost like a lot of men say, "Oh, this is my chance to get away from my wife or my girlfriend." They mean that. They joke about it, but deeply they want to be at solitude in the gym. Same with women that I speak to. They say, "Oh, this is my safe space. Away from my boyfriend or my husband, my safe space to connect and just train and work on myself." People need that solitude, or like you say, a space away from home. From what's happening at home.
Oh, definitely.
So the gym is one of those places. I think a library could be one of those places. Where would you say is a place of respite, or a place of outside gym and libraries?
Outside gym and libraries, I would say the park.
The park, yeah.
Spending time in somewhat of nature. Trees, grass, greenery, very good for your mental health. Also, known to drop anxiety levels. What do they call it? Stress hormones.
Cortisol.
So, yes, cortisol. That's the one. So, being in the park, being in nature, even just maybe going to a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And just being like, even if you're not talking to anyone, but just having that buzz of like, there's people around, there's ideas happening. I work better
that way.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of people work better that way, because you can imagine that we almost like need a little bit of distraction to kind of keep us, focused. Otherwise, if there's just everything is like 4 walls, there's no movement, there's just you and your thoughts are gonna run wild.
They are.
You know what I mean?
They are. I like that. It's almost like an atmosphere, a bit of a buzz, where mood helps your brain almost zone in.
Yes.
Whereas when it's too quiet and there's no outside kind of atmosphere or movement, your brain kind of, like you say, zones out, right? Kind of zone out and
just bouncing on all the walls,
literally loud thoughts,
trying to find its place in this world.
Never have thoughts been so loud. Yeah. Oh wow, interesting. Shall we kind of move on to? I think you had.
Which one do you want to touch on?
Yeah, I think we got final one, right?
Yeah, so we got 2 more.
We got 2 more. Got you.
I know you don't know.
This is your topic.
Yeah,
this is you, man. This is all you.
You don't know too much about this, but I wanted to talk a little bit, just because we're on, the theme of health and fitness. I wanted to talk about heat cold therapy for recovery. So, do you know anything about this? Have you ever experimented with heat cold therapy?
Cold therapy? No, I haven't. I know there's a lot of research buzzing about red light therapy, is that part of that conversation? Red light therapy?
No, it isn't,
No?
but we can go into it. I have
Okay.
heard red light therapy. I actually use it myself.
Use it yourself.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Again, ice plunges.
Yes.
Is that part of it?
That is part of it,
So
definitely.
ice plunges. Again, there's a big buzz just
Yeah.
after lockdown about just dropping your body in an ice cold bath,
Mm-hmm.
and the benefits were just immense.
Yes.
A lot of it was to do with discipline and just how doing something you don't want to do is good for your mental health.
Yes.
But that's another conversation. But yeah, I think that's about all I know when it comes to the
Okay,
core
well,
therapy.
so you actually hit the nail on the head. When you're doing something that you're uncomfortable with,
Okay.
it's so good for your mental health. It actually prevents things like Alzheimer's, because what's happening is there's something called the anterior cingulate cortex, right? Which is basically the part of your brain that connects your prefrontal cortex, which is like higher thinking, to all the sensory stuff in your body. You know, when you get hot, you start sweating. When you need more oxygen, you start breathing more heavily. So these are things that are all regulated, and then your anterior cingulate cortex lets you know that, okay, you're breathing too heavy, there's something going on, why are you feeling this way? So when you're doing something that you feel uncomfortable with, like ice plunges, you're actually telling your brain, okay, I'm doing this uncomfortable thing because I want to, better myself. And then that is actually really good for you. And because you're doing something that's out of your comfort zone, your brain's forced to get stronger. Now with heat cold therapy, essentially when it comes to muscles, okay, so heat therapy is very good for loosening up your muscle. And if you need to go to sleep, okay, so if you need to relax, you need to increase blood circulation, you take a really warm shower, okay? And if you want to like wake up and you want to have like your nervous system firing on all cylinders, you would take a cold shower because it's going to shock it. And what I've seen is that actually we're regulated by body temperature. That's how we do things. How you wake up in the morning is that your body temperature actually drops, you get colder, and then that's why you wake up.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
So if you do an ice plunge in the morning, or you take an ice cold shower in the morning, it's actually more effective at waking you up than drinking a cup of coffee. So how you should do it is you have a cold shower in the morning, you're nice and at work, your nervous system is nice and firing.
I used to do this, surprisingly.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Cold shower.
Okay.
It
and
just
then
felt good, but it was no kind of science.
right.
It just felt that I kind of needed it to wake up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's effective, right? I'm sure
Very
you
effective.
felt like a firework as soon as you did
5
it.
a.m. in the morning, cold shower. Oh, it worked.
Yeah, and then you're up immediately. Like there's no grogginess, no drowsiness, no nothing.
Didn't need a coffee.
It's also better than a coffee, and it's good for your skin, right? Because it shrinks your pores. It's good for your hair because it flattens the follicles. So if you're a guy and you're struggling with hair loss, you can practice with
good hair, sir.
Yeah, hey,
good
you
hair,
too.
man. Good hair.
We take care of ourselves, but some cold water for your hair, for your skin does wonders. And then late at night when you need to go to sleep, there's a lot of people that suffer from insomnia.
Yeah.
And so what you need to do is now you need to drop your body temperature to go to sleep. So what you do is you take a hot shower because then your body says, oh, I'm hot now, I need to drop my temperature. And this will help you fall asleep. And this is why heat cold therapy can be used very effectively for recovery.
What would you say is a good time to use heat therapy then?
So heat therapy is good for when you want to relax and you want to try go to sleep.
So late at night, or just before a nap? Is that
before a nap?
Before
yes.
a nap, okay.
Yes.
And what methods of heat could you employ? Is it
so
warm drinks or
yes? That is,
drinks
you could have a warm drink. You could take a warm shower. If you are so lucky, you could go to a sauna. Okay.
So to what benefits would a sauna?
What a sauna does is it basically opens up your pores. It lets you release all the oil in your body that's been collecting, so excess oil. It also opens up your respiratory system.
Yeah.
So you can almost think of it like hot air is expanded, okay? So when you're sitting in a sauna, when you're breathing in that hot air, it's literally opening up your lungs, like really opening them up. It's good for your breathing, for your respiratory health. And then, what else is it good for?
I guess with that, just to touch up on a little point now. So is there any benefits to heat therapy? So for example, going to a sauna, but then they often pump those saunas with eucalyptus oil or anything of that nature, right? Kind of fragrant, nice smelling things. Does that add to the benefits of heat therapy? So,
yes. So eucalyptus is like one of those natural
remedies, right?
Remedies to open up your respiratory system. So like when you're sick, it'll open it up. If you have inflammation, if you have a buildup of phlegm, you'll use eucalyptus. You'll also use heat therapy. So this is the good thing. It's basically opening up your lungs. And because we aren't in a state of life where we were as active as our ancestors, so our lungs actually are not
As
functioning.
efficient. Yeah.
They're not. Like even if you're not going to gym, right? You notice that when you go to gym and you bang out a set,
Yeah.
all of a sudden your heart rate's increased, right? You're
Yeah.
breathing more to get more oxygen
Yeah.
in. The average person, if they're not doing that, so their lungs are actually not functioning at the capacity they're supposed to function. So when you do these heat therapy, sessions, you're actually opening up your lungs again.
Yeah.
So that's the benefit of doing those.
That's really interesting. Really, really interesting. And would you say that with heat therapy, cold therapy, your chances of fighting infection, inflammation, and there's science to back this up as well?
Yes, there's definitely science to back this up.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to looking into this.
Yeah,
Nice.
and definitely. And there's also the finish. What they do is like they'll have a sauna, then they'll do an ice plunge right afterwards.
Really?
Yes, and what this does is like it tricks your brain into thinking that you're going through extreme temperatures. So it starts to
Right.
release like all these amazing chemicals in your body. Like you start to feel really good, lots of endorphins. You almost feel like you're being hugged by a cloud.
That's really interesting.
Yeah,
because this is a different topic. This is kind of a bit of a darker topic.
Right.
But in UK, when it's really hot, for example, okay, there's been incidents throughout history where when it's really hot, people just naturally want to go for a swim, right? So they'll go from like a really hot temperature into a river, right, or into a canal, just like a quick swim, just kind of cool down the body.
Right.
But what that inherently does is it shocks the brain into danger flight type scenario where the muscles kind of shut down and people inherently just drown.
Oh,
They
wow.
drown.
I had
Because
no
they've
idea
gone from
about
a
this.
really hot temperature, I'm talking soaring heat.
Yes,
Soaring heat. They're enjoying life, but they feel just like really, really hot. They want to cool down quickly, and then they just jump into the nearest pool canal.
Wow.
And you have you hear it's been in the news, it's been in papers that usually young boys, girls just kind of jump in and just
They
drown.
seize up and they drown.
Seize up and drown.
Wow, that's
so
crazy.
I'm trying to think what the kind of the links are between. Well, obviously you're in a controlled environment with going from a sauna into a nice sponge. It's a controlled environment.
Exactly.
In the wild, in real life situation, people have died from this. Different similar scenarios, but obviously in very different settings.
Yeah. So you're 100% right. I think it's a controlled environment.
Yeah.
And then also you're not actually supposed to swim, because like you're causing your body to like be confused in a sense. So it doesn't know if it's hot or cold. So now you're adding movement to it, which like confuses it some more. So what the best way to do it is you go into the sauna. The ice plunge is literally just like a bathtub, so that you go lie in it.
Yeah.
And then that will bring down your temperature. Also, another key aspect of this is that you actually shouldn't submerge your head. Because your internal temperature sensor is actually in your inner ear.
Yeah.
So if you go from extreme heat and then you go swimming now, and then you've submerged your head, you're basically taking your thermometer from like 30 to 18, and it's just not used to that. It's like it's not natural for it. So then this is where all these complications happen.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so just be careful, people. You know what I mean?
Be careful. Listen, we're right into autumn now, so you've taken this information and you've literally saved your life. Hey.
And then,
nice.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting topics there. Things I didn't know. Thanks, Tira. Appreciate that, man.
Nice. No worries, man. Do you want to touch on anything?
I think that's it. We got anything more to talk about? Is there?
No, I think we've had a good conversation. Maybe the final thing I just want to touch on is how doing scary things are good for you.
Okay.
So basically, this comes back to just challenge yourself. Go to the gym, doing these scary things, going back to the ACC. Whenever you do things that are uncomfortable, it's good for your brain.
Yes, ACC. We touch up on that.
Yeah. So just do things that are you feel afraid to do. Go to the gym, talk to people, talk to attractive people, because it will just be good for your brain, and you'll be thankful in the end.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Very good. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks,
Until next time.
Until next time. Always a pleasure, my friend.